Everybody was kung fu fighting. They were quick as lightning. It was a little bit frightening.
I love it. I love it. Kung fu fighting.
That was our guest for today, Carlito.
How's it going, Manny?
How's it going, buddy? We have two special guests today, and we are going to be talking about 4 letters.
That's
HVAC.
right.
What? Everyone looking at me like it was a test or something, man.
No one can see us looking at you.
We're going to be talking about HVAC with Tyler from Stott HVAC and Andrew from Stott HVAC. Let's begin by you guys introducing yourselves and get a lot of information about your beginnings.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having us on the show. I know it's been a little while with us trying to line this date up.
Hang on a sec. That's it. I'm just having a Coke right now.
And I think you need to explain the whole point we did that song, considering you hashtag the HVAC Ninjas on your site.
We will get into
right.
the HVAC Ninjas, which I will not take any credit for. That was completely Barry Hopkins.
That's right.
He's the one that first came up with it, because when your crew came in, Andrew and the boys came in, they were all Asian of some descent, and they were all dressed in black. So then he actually pieced it together, and he's just like, they're kind of like HVAC ninjas. So it just stuck, and you guys have been called the HVAC Ninjas for a while now, and I love it. I want to get way back when we first met, you and me, Tyler, like way, like 6-7 years ago.
At least.
Right? When you were doing sales there at the time, right?
Yeah, I was just doing sales, and I think we met on that project in Woodbridge.
In Woodbridge, yeah, that's
the
how I
basement.
first met you
Yeah.
guys, right? So you guys came in, and it was funny that he was one of 3 HVAC companies that I called out to come out and to do this work on a 1,600 square foot basement, relocate. It was like a home theater, kitchenette, bedroom, open area, bathroom, and then there was a lot of rerouting going on. There was a lot of the stupid ductwork that went underneath I-beams, and
That's
we
right.
wanted to try to get
I
rid of
hate
that
that.
shit. I can't stand that.
Hate that.
But these guys figured out a way to do it, which was great. And
We're going to talk about that?
Yeah.
well, you guys. I started with the beer. Tyler, you get us going talking about HVAC, man. Like, where did you begin? How did you get into HVAC?
I started off in many different industries when I was younger, as much we do when we're in our 20s, trying to figure ourselves out and which way to
right.
go. I was always sort of in sales. I ended up in HVAC because I was actually working for a water company, and I broke my arm. So that sort of took that out of the equation. And
How'd you break your arm? On the job site?
No, playing hockey.
Oh, there we go.
And my uncle was working for an HVAC company at the time, so he took me under his wing to sort of teach me the sales, and it started off as a job, and then a few years later, I decided to make it a career.
How old were you at this time?
24.
Okay.
So started doing some sales, selling furnaces, AC, so on and so forth. Went back to school and got my design tickets and heat loss, heat gain, and forced air design, hydronics, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I want to get into all that, man. Like, that's all serious stuff that we got to talk about, because that's really critical. A lot of homeowners, a lot of trades don't even know anything about that stuff, right? So
No,
Yeah.
I like how you're starting already. You had an injury, then you had to figure out another way to make money. The truth is, you got to do it while you're young, right?
Well, yeah, you got to
Kind of find yourself and make a name for yourself, right? Sorry, I was interrupting there. Go
No,
ahead.
no, that's all right. No problem.
that happens all the time.
Hi.
Yeah, and one thing led to another, and I was doing sales for another company. I saw the market sort of changing in 2009 when the crash happened in the States, and a lot of companies came out and was doing a lot of re jobs or just swapping out furnaces, ACs, that sort of thing.
What do you mean they're
And
changing?
that's when you and I sort of met,
Yeah, it was around that time.
Yeah, there was a lot of competition, really, really slim margins at that time. I thought, I got to sort of change this path now, because this is a saturated market, and that's where I met you and a lot of other good GCs and
We got
custom
talking.
builders in the city, and that's sort of when I got more into the custom world, and then that's where Andrew stepped in.
Got it. And okay, so Andrew, you're a little younger than us, eh?
Yeah, a little bit.
So how did you get your beginning?
I've always been hands-on when I was young. I've actually followed my dad's footsteps.
He's in HVAC?
He used to be in HVAC. He passed away.
Oh, okay.
I followed his footsteps. I went to school, worked with him for a little bit, and decided to, gain more experience elsewhere. Ever since, I've been in the industry, learning everything is different. Like, I love HVAC.
How much different was it from the time that your dad was doing it compared to the time that you got into it? Has HVAC really changed that dramatic?
Yes.
A lot?
A lot.
In what way?
We don't always just do air-conditioned furnaces anymore. It's all about hydronics, custom homes.
HVAC is bigger than those
Yeah,
four
but
letters.
sure, it was probably Rads back then also, and
But so when did you guys meet? Like, when did you guys first meet?
We met, well, it would have been 13, 14 years ago because we both started at our previous employer together. We got talking near the end of we spent 10 years there together. And when it got kind of towards the end, it's like, all right, I'm driving in all the business. You're doing all the work. The only thing we're not doing here is bankrolling our own jobs.
And that's when
So
you guys
that's when we
had...
said, you know what, let's roll the dice and mortgage our houses and give this a go.
I won't sugarcoat it. You guys are doing well. And how long has it been now since Stott HVAC has started?
It'll be
3 years?
3 years next month.
Yep.
3 years. So is the idea you guys going to buy a new Sprinter van, a new crew every single year? Because that's the track that it's going
this
now.
has to be the Sprinter
That's
van
right.
thing,
That's-
right?
I'm sorry, but how many Sprinter vans do you guys have now?
Right now, 3.
3. You have a black one, a silver one. What's the latest one?
Another black one.
Oh, you went black, eh?
Yeah.
So basically, you got an Oreo cookie there. Is that what's going on here? That's what you got
With
going
a
on.
silver lining.
I got nothing against the Sprinter vans. You know that, right? You Ventura. What are you driving there?
Ventura. Express. 4x4.
Chevrolet Express. Okay, so you guys actually were talking to each other, and you're thinking, let's start our own company now. Because I'm always fascinated about how daunting that is, man. How pretty intimidating, no?
Yeah, it was. I was contemplating doing it for like 5 years, and it took me a long time to finally take the leap.
But I like what you did is that you had Andrew, who's on the tools in the field, and you got you, who's the sales. So it's kind of like you guys both needed Sonny and Cher. You know what I mean? Like, this is fucking perfect, right?
No, it is. It really
Well, yeah.
is.
Yep.
And you
'Cause-
guys worked it together.
Yeah.
And then was the next problem finding the crews, finding the guys?
Next problem was staff,
And then who
the rest
took
of our
reins
team.
on training the guys?
Well, that's my part.
That's all Andrew.
That's you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know when Andrew, when you came in first and you started doing the first job under Stott, the crew was tight. It was not a lot of personality because you guys wanted to just get the job done, but we were trying to joke around a little bit. And I think the HVAC Ninja kind of was a nice little, let's break the ice here kind of thing, which was kind of good. But the guys are down to earth and solid, but they worked really well. That's what I noticed first off. And that was the first crew. And who's on that crew?
That was JR and Benny.
Jared Ben. Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
And they're still here.
And now those two are each running their own crews now.
Wow.
Holy cow. So it sounds like there's a lot of advancement, eh? Room for in here.
Well, that's the idea, right? Andrew trains them and works under, and
Are you finding a hard time finding guys?
It's definitely a challenge.
Like, what are people missing that you're interviewing or trying out?
No, hang on a sec.
you want to get into the millennial conversation?
Not yet. Not yet. Not because Andrew, you're a millennial, no?
Yep.
Or are you elder millennial? How young are you?
87.
This is ridiculous. Eh? I was watching Lethal Weapon in '87, man. Holy! I was 2 years away from finishing high
you were
school in
30.
'87, man. No, I was not 30. All right. So what were you guys looking for in your crew when a guy came in to do HVAC? What was the number one thing that the guys had to have?
Dedication, hardworking, willing to learn, listen. There's no job big or small. Everyone's got to do it.
Attitude.
Yes.
Yeah.
We like the can-do attitude.
Were you guys plucking guys from the HVAC world, or were you guys just plucking guys from the construction world?
We try to find someone out of school.
School.
Yeah.
So you guys wanted sponges.
Yeah,
People.
more or less. We try to get somebody with a year or less experience coming out of school that's licensed with G2 or G3 and wants to give it a go, and then we
I
train
guess
them-
that's
we
a good
train them from there.
idea. If they're out for a year, they've kind of, they've already gone to school, they got the theory, and then they get on the tools and it becomes practical, and then they figure out, is this actually what I want to do? A year goes by, they already know they want to do it.
Exactly.
And then they don't have the bad habits.
Not always.
No, they got bad habits.
And that's how JR and Benny were?
Yep.
It's almost like a band, eh? JR, Benny, and Andrew. And Tyler.
Yeah.
Benny and the
Yeah.
Jets.
No more songs. We did the song already. All right, so that was the first. And okay, so Tyler, how hard was it to get the sales? Was it easy to get the sales, or was it hard to get the sales? Like, you guys were a new HVAC company in the business now.
Yeah, it was a little tough. That first year was hard. Some contacts and so on I had developed over the years. But that first year I was hitting the pavement trying to drive in the business. And then the workmanship sort of spoke for itself. After that, it's grown very organically.
Yeah, once you guys
People-
showed up on site and you guys left a mark, everyone remembered. That was
Yeah.
the idea. Were you focusing on two groups of people to go after, like other GCs and also homeowners?
No, it was mostly GCs and
GCs.
builders. We sort of focused in on that niche.
Okay.
The only time we work directly for homeowners is if it's like a referral or family friend that needs a replacement unit done.
You guys don't want to touch homeowners.
Not that we don't want to. It's again, that's a very competitive market. We've sort of found our niche that works and our formula that has been working. And there's a lot of building going on in the city. Not a lot of HVAC companies that can handle sort of the custom stuff. So
Or they don't want to?
or they don't want to, or they're not set up for it. And
You guys like that stuff.
Oh yeah,
You guys like coming in and figuring out problem solving.
that's the best part of the of this trade.
and
Really?
every job is a little bit different. Nothing's the same. Every custom home is different.
I hate getting phone calls in the middle of the day and it's someone trying to sell me how to clean my duct lines.
Do we really have to clean our ducts?
Depends
the
on
ones in the
depends on how
ponds.
dirty
No.
your house is.
But I do have a question. A lot of new builders and new developers now, I'm seeing this, they're not running rigid lines anymore. They're running corrugated plastic lines. How do you clean them now?
Wait a minute, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well,
Corrugated plastic.
I've gone into some new construction.
High velocity.
Yes, right. That's what I was just going to lead to.
Okay.
And how do you clean that? And why would you want corrugated lines?
I don't think you can. I've talked to some duct cleaners, and they can't get in there and clean them properly. You can clean the return airs because it's still sheet metal and so on, but you can't clean high velocity 2-inch runs.
So why are they using it then?
No bulkheads.
No bulkheads.
Smaller loads for the houses. You're looking at tiny, stacked townhomes.
Yeah, these are like
and so on.
townhouses or small condo builders. Yeah.
Yeah. So high velocity is small duct work, small duct runs. You don't lose bulkheads or ceiling space. And they're going that route because you can also put in very small pieces of equipment to heat and cool that space where your traditional forced air sort of has a minimum.
I gotta ask you guys, why are you guys Milwaukee, man? Is
Whoa.
the third van
Are
all
these guys Milwaukee?
Oh, they're like red,
Well,
red.
Red and black.
That would make sense because it's partly plumbing also, right? Like if you're doing HVAC, you're doing plumbing, you do water tanks. I mean, you must be doing all kinds of stuff for like rads and everything else, right?
Exactly. So for us, Milwaukee, they have tools for everything that we do.
Yeah.
From plumbing to sheet metal to you name it, they got it. Our whole truck.
I won't even disagree. All my plumbing tools are Milwaukee.
I know most plumbers in HVAC are Milwaukee guys. I know that for a fact,
Yeah.
man. But then they'll ask me for my Bosch tools if they need to break some concrete. That's all I got to say. But so the third van is all set up with Milwaukee's now too as well.
Exactly.
That's what you guys are like, incredibly organized, man. So it's
Yep.
like each van. So the idea was that you guys set up each van so then each crew can go in there and it's if it's a new guy or if it's a year-end guy or whatever, they know where everything's at.
Every truck's different.
Oh,
Every truck's different.
I didn't realize that.
Different service?
No, I mean in terms of organization.
Why is that? Why are you making them different?
Because we let our crews design what they want. Every crew has their own ways of organizing things.
It's brilliant.
We leave it up to them.
So
Yeah.
it goes up back to their personality, I guess,
Yeah.
JR and
Exactly.
Benny.
I thought it was like 3 different trucks, 3 different crews doing
No.
3 different things. Like one
No.
would be a rad, one would be like water and demand, or one would be HVAC. Like
We
that's
all
what I
do
was
the
assuming.
same thing. Just
Same thing.
Whatever you want, it's set up to be.
Nice.
That sounds like a scheduling nightmare if one crew's doing one thing.
Yeah.
I got one crew
No, but
overloaded
sometimes
doing
it
one
works.
thing, one crew's not doing anything. Yeah, like with our recent truck for JR, who's taken the new one. Here you go. Here's
Really?
your
I thought Andrew would take the new one. Wouldn't
No,
it just
Andrew
get...
didn't want it. He likes his truck, and
You don't like the new look one?
Oh, I love it. I didn't want to go through that again. I set up the first 2 trucks.
So you don't want to set it up?
No.
Yeah, so this one was, and JR has been with us since day one. He came on as our first helper, making minimum wage because we didn't have any money to pay him. And he's been with us there since the start. So we said, all right, you're running your own crew now. You get the new truck, set it up the way you want, all brand new tools. Now get back to work.
So the first year out, you guys are out. You guys spend a lot of money setting up a brand, setting up the image, setting up everything. Go on your leads. You start pounding the pavement. You're getting the first jobs. You get a crew of 3 guys.
Yep.
3 guys going in, and all of a sudden it starts to grow. And now, how many employees you have? 3 years later, how many employees you got going on now? 9 plus you? No,
Going to be 7 in the field next month, employees, and then myself and 2 more in the office. So we'd be 10 employees, and then we have a couple of really close-knit sub-crews that we work with from time to time too.
If you need
When
it.
there's a little extra overflow or maybe they're looking for work, then they sort of specialize in things. So I try to keep them busy, or we try to keep them busy when we can.
And you guys have, is it 1 or 2 women on the crew?
One.
Well, that's pretty cool.
That's very cool.
What's that like?
It's good.
I never heard a girl in HVAC, so I'm interested.
I know.
It definitely is very rare. She's definitely a hard worker.
Where'd she come from?
As in,
Not like biologically. I'm just saying, did she study HVAC and go that whole route? Oh, she
she's-
did, huh?
She's fully licensed.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
She
she
went-
went
yeah.
to school,
Gas fitters license, everything?
fully licensed.
Wow, that's wicked.
I get that her kids say HVAC means something else. What is it again?
I don't know. Ask Andrew that one.
What is it again?
HVAC,
What the kids said that it stands for something else.
house vacuuming and cleaning.
Yeah. I didn't say it. Her kids said it, man. So no, I thought that was funny when I heard it. No, but she knows her stuff, man.
Oh, definitely.
Which is really, really cool, right? And then I like that you guys are, and I'm sure that if you could find more women to hire, you guys would hire them, right?
Absolutely.
They're very organized compared to us.
Yeah, she's organized.
Definitely.
You just see the back of her truck and all the Milwaukee tools she has. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Works hard, never calls in sick. She's there every day.
Wow.
And she gives the boys a run for their money.
Good.
Absolutely.
So, what's the ideal system for a typical traditional home? What are you selling and why are you selling it?
No, you know what? Even take us a little further to the back to that. I go from the time that you actually get the call or you quote a job. Like run us through. I'm the GC and I call you up and you come and quote the job. What's your process? What does it normally work?
Well, I guess it would start with me at that stage, and I would ask you as the GC, okay, so do you have a set of plans? Or are you just still at the beginning stages where you're playing around with your different ideas and your budgets and so on? And I sort of feel out the process. A lot of times GCs already have a set of mechanical plans
'Cause we submitted them to
go.
city, right?
They're
So-
ready to go. They send me the plans. I'll give them sort of a rough budget, sight unseen. And then at that point, if I'm within the budget, then we usually meet on site and start going through things a little more thoroughly, and I'll fine tune the price. And
Do you fine tune the drawings? Red line areas that you don't like and you want to change, or maybe offer something different or better?
well, that always happens, but usually starting with you guys at GCs, it's like, well, this run can't go here because there's a piece of furniture going here,
Right.
or so
A
there's
beam
been
or-
a change. We got millwork in this part, so this can't go there, and then we have to sort of improvise as we go.
And then from there we go what? You got to deal with the homeowners.
It depends. It depends on the GC.
Because you
right?
guys are the
Some-
first one on site, right? Trade-wise?
Yeah, most likely.
Well,
Yeah,
you-
we come in after framing.
Yeah, right after framing, you guys come first because you guys make the biggest holes.
Us and the plumber.
Definitely.
That's all. You guys make the biggest holes depending on the runs, right? Like I remember you and I, we did 8-inch holes through TGIs, right? We were going through under the garage,
Oh, that's right.
right? So,
Yeah.
and we knew that we were allowed to do that because we looked at the specs and we actually all scratched our head and looked at the specs on the TGI and we were told, yes, we can make in a 11 and 7/8 TGI, we can make an 8-inch hole smack in the middle of the run because it was a 22-foot long span, but we were allowed to make an 8-inch hole in the middle
Beautiful.
to avoid a bulkhead, which is really great.
I love it.
That's what I love about it.
Typically, always bring HVAC before any other trade.
Yeah.
After framing?
They make the biggest holes. That's why.
Yeah.
They dictate where. That's how you guys would want it, right?
That or at the same time as the plumber.
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
nice to get on the same page as the plumber and where
'cause
they're
he's gotta
running
run
their
his street.
stacks.
Yeah, he's got to
and
run
so
his
on.
stacks, right?
So we got to work together. The amount of jobs we run in duct work, and the plumber comes afterwards and removes it because he puts his stack or whatnot in the way. And it happens.
That's never happened. What are you
I've
talking
seen
about?
water lines through them all
That's
the time.
never
Or
happened.
through our return air and whatnot.
No.
So
Really?
Yeah, I
again,
see it all
What
the time.
happens? Yep.
we always say in the beginning, get us on the same page as the plumber. Let's have a meeting. Let's have a walkthrough.
But that doesn't always happen.
Well, it should.
Not
though.
always, but it should.
It's funny you say that because how many times I've opened up floors and bathrooms and I see lines right through and I'm like, fuck, I got to fix that too.
So you guys come in, you guys do all the rough, take care of all that stuff. It gets inspected, and then you guys don't return until the finishing. Or no, you
It's-
start setting up the furnace and everything.
Equipment.
Equipment.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. I want to stop for a second because one of the biggest problems I always see with HVAC is the main structural framing is complete. In between you and the plumbers coming in, framing has to continue like bulkheads and other things. I always see this mistake over and over again. Nobody knows how far to stay away from duct lines. They don't realize that these trunks actually expand up to almost 3/4 of an inch. So people are touching their framing to your trunks, drywall to your trunks, and then you get that reverberation through the whole house, right?
1 inch clearance all the way around.
1
right.
inch clearance?
1 inch.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of guys don't do that, or they take insulation and they stick it in there and they think it's going to prevent it.
It just wiggles his way out?
No, I just want to talk about some problems because I think all the listeners need to know that if they're framing, they should stay 1 inch away.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else? We got to do the machine, the mechanical room, no?
Yeah, that's usually the next stage.
We're trying to
So,
walk
yeah,
through the process.
Manny's
Stage 1, I sell the
favorite
job.
room.
It's one of my
That is-
favorite rooms.
Come on, you're always in
It's
in
one
that
of my
room.
favorite rooms, man. I don't care what the kitchen looks like at that point. You got to care about the system, right? No? Isn't that true?
It's the heart.
It's the heart of the house.
It is.
So without a heart, you don't have a house.
Well, they say 70% of the cost of a home or the basement, right? Usually, typically, that's where the plumbing is, the HVAC, the whole system, right?
wait, did you just say 70% of the home's cost is
70% of the that's where all the main things go. The concrete flooring, the footings, the
Oh, in the
structural,
basement.
the trunks, the HVAC units, the water tanks,
Lot.
water and demand. That's another thing. What do you guys think of water and demand?
We
You
jump
don't
into
have
that.
it.
That's a whole other conversation, but sure, we jump right into that one.
why you guys own? Well, I want to get into radiant versus forced air,
Yeah.
and you know where I stand on that. I don't like forced air. I think forced air sucks.
You know what? I like radiant myself. I don't mind rads by the windows or
You guys
radiant
like
floor
rads?
heating.
I prefer in floor.
So you guys
Yeah.
prefer? Yeah, I mean, rads I don't like either. Rads are nice if it's an older home and you're going to keep it that way, leave
Yeah.
it that way. That's great. But then you have the option of putting radiant, right?
That's right.
But then we talked about this, Tyler, where the best system was to have a small forced air system for your AC and for air circulation, but then do radiant, right? Do floor.
Yeah, it's a hybrid of both.
Now,
That's what a lot of the homes we get involved in.
How
are.
much more expensive is it to do that versus just doing forced air with an AC?
Double.
It's double the price.
Yeah.
Typically, a 3,000 square foot house, you might be looking at about 40K. 40K turns into 80K. Rough. I'm
Yeah,
just
roughly.
ballpark.
Yeah, roughly, depending on the equipment specs and how.
So how do you
difficult the
convince
job.
clients to go that route? Because I just try to sell them on the health benefits of that. Because I like pulling the strings where your kids will not have nosebleeds. There won't be dry.
Okay, why is that?
The air, the moisture in the air. You guys talk about this. I'm not HVAC. I'm not certified. Why is radiant better than forced air?
'Cause it holds the temperature. It always maintains a constant temperature.
The air quality is different, right, than a forced air system
You definitely don't feel the air.
at all. What does it
Well,
feel
no,
like?
It's radiant.
radiant.
It's
But
warming
it's
you
still
through your
moving.
feet up.
Yeah.
Well, the only air that's moving is whatever air circulation you may have in the home, but
So the HRVs.
the HRV, because by code we still have to have ventilation in the house. But
Do you guys
there's
like HRV?
naturally there's
Definitely need one.
No. That's not the question, Andrew.
No,
The
but
que-
even if you have forced air, you can still do things like add humidifiers to them and so on, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's the whole purpose of it. So you can still keep your.
I know, but do you want to put in a humidifier in there and then having to service the humidifier every single season? Because how many times have you turned yours? I haven't.
I don't have that. I have so
You got radiant.
so in my home I have rads, and then we have a unit on the top floor, and it basically we push the cold air down towards the main floor, and we raise the rads are on in and out on both of our rads, so we can control in each room the temperature we want, as much water as we want to come
Is there
in.
an easy
right?
fix for that, guys? He's got an old house
140 years old home
with
so.
old rads in it that he has to control individually. Is there a way to fix that? That's
Well,
not,
we have valves. I
Yes,
don't want to fix it. I like
yeah,
it.
they got valves. You can
Yeah,
control
but
the
you
flow
gotta
of
We
your
have all
rads.
valves, two of them,
Yeah.
one going in and one going out, and I can control how much heat I want in each room. So if I feel that I want to take heat away from a room, I can just turn that water down in that room, and it will cool that room down. That's how I play with it, right?
There's zoning each room.
basically, but you got to do that for every single rad, which brings up zoning.
Yeah, we're gonna keep rolling to that. I'd like to go back to the radiant versus forced
I
air,
want to
and
know
I think,
more. What's the argument?
I think a hybrid of both is the way to go, because radiant heat from the floor is definitely the most comfortable. It heats you through your feet, which then keeps
Through
your
your
body
bones,
warm.
yeah.
So you can actually keep the temperature lower because your body feels warm, which then saves energy costs and so on.
How much lower
But
can
then-
you keep it? Like a few degrees or like?
Yeah, a couple of degrees, and it would be equivalent to
what
forced
temperature
air,
should people have their homes at?
wherever they're comfortable.
Normal people.
Dum,
Fahrenheit,
dum.
somewhere between now 70 to 72, 74.
Okay, all right. 'Cause
Yeah,
I-
that's what but I assume between 67 and 70, that's typically
67 is a little cold,
That's
man.
a little, well, unless you're sleeping.
That's
If you like
sleep-
it cold when
that's
you're
nighttime
sleeping,
temperature,
yeah, that's
man.
okay.
Yeah.
But you still need forced air because you still got to humidify the air. We have to do HRVs or ERVs now in homes, so we still have to bring in fresh air into the house and remove stale air.
What?
Energy recovery ventilator versus a heat recovery ventilator. It's just two different things. Generally, in our climate, we use heat recovery ventilators. In the south, they use energy recovery ventilators.
Wait a
which
minute. What's
remove
an
moisture.
energy recovery ventilator?
It's more designed for humid temperature or humid climates, so it removes moisture.
What's it look
beautiful. I
like?
love it.
It looks exactly the same. It's just a different core.
So it's
inside the
you got to
unit.
park 2 of these units now? HRV?
No, they've actually finally decided to make a unit with an interchangeable core. So now you take a core out and put one in for the wintertime, and then you put the other one in the summer.
Brilliant. I love it.
And you just change the cores.
You tell the clients to do this, or you tell the clients to hire you guys to do this?
Oh, we like to get hired to do it.
Okay, that makes a lot
So
more sense.
what is
service?
what is the cost?
Service.
and how like what is the cost and
We do custom maintenance plans for all of our clients. So I'll set them up with a spring and fall sort of startup. So it depends on how much equipment they have in the house. If they have boilers, air handlers, snow melt systems, so on and so forth. It all depends on how much equipment's in the house. And
I got a question for you guys. Building code wise, does the HRV in Ontario does the HRV in Ontario have to be pumped through the forced air system? Is it no? That's
No.
not code, right?
No.
We were having this conversation, remember, with Hans?
right.
And we were trying to figure out, I think it was you, I'm going to point at you, because Hans and I were on the same page saying that you don't have to feed it to the heat. Or was it him saying?
No. I said you don't have to.
But he said you have to.
Yes.
I'm not going to say he's wrong. It is code to have ventilation in every room of the house.
But does that unit have to go through the forced air system?
Nope.
No.
If it does not, it has to have, depending on depending on the HRV energy efficiency of it, it may require 1 or 2 kilowatt heater to preheat the air coming into the house from outside.
That's what it was.
So
I
it has to
remember
be
that.
preheated.
Yes, it has to be preheated then.
Otherwise, you're dumping really cold air into the house.
Got it.
While we're on the topic of that whole area, I wanted to talk about basically rigid forced air. Some people want to keep their system on, and some people want to keep it on auto. And if it drops 3 degrees, so like some people keep it on auto and it shuts down, and then the lines stay cold, and then you can't heat them up as fast, right? Where if you just leave the fan on all the time, there's a constant temperature throughout the line, right? So what's better? Should
Which
you
is
keep
better?
it on auto or should you keep it on? The fan.
You're just talking about the fan.
On HVAC, yeah.
Fan on. I always like to do that. Or like with Ecobee, you can set it for a certain amount of minutes per hour that the fan operates. And that way you're always keeping air movement, especially if you have air filtration in the home
And
or an
keeping the
HRV.
temperature in the lines.
You're keeping the lines a little bit more comfortable, especially if they're going through an unconditioned space or if it's a long way away from the furnace.
Love it. You just answered a big problem.
Then you keep the air moving. And even if it's just room temperature, it's not allowing that pipe to cool down as much.
So that's one of the big questions I always get from people. They always say, should I keep it on or auto? You just answered it. Just keep it on.
Yeah, I
it
think
makes
that-
sense.
I think it's a good idea. I
it
keep
makes
mine
sense to
on.
me too.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it balances
I'm not an
every
HVAC.
room too. So
Okay, so can we go back to forced air versus radiant?
It comes down to budget.
Is it really budget? But
Absolutely.
okay, our homes are so tight today, right? So you guys do new homes, you do retro homes, you do old homes, you do all kinds of homes. But all the new homes in the new building code, the homes are so airtight that people live in these. And I find that if you're constantly using forced air, you're gonna have more health problems. Maybe not health problems, just like comfort problems.
Well, I find traditional gas furnace to dry out the house a little bit more than
I gotta run
radiant
I gotta
would.
run a humidifier in the wintertime.
Well, for sure.
Otherwise, I wake up and I got to blow my nose and I got, lots of stuff, right?
Well, I think every house should be humidified.
But
Yeah.
then if you had a radiant system, a boiler, you wouldn't really have that, right?
Well, you still do.
Would you still have it?
You
You
still,
still need a
got it.
humidifier.
Yeah,
You still have to introduce humidity.
my wife puts one on no matter what. And I remember my grandparents, they had radiant also. They would always put a glass of water in each room, the old school style.
Yeah.
They'd always say, keep it there. It's going to prevent nosebleeds and so on.
It's going to evaporate. Or there used to be like these trays that would sit on old cast iron rads and you'd fill them up with water and then the water would just naturally
Really?
evaporate.
That would work?
Oh, yeah. That's all you're
old
trying to
school.
do is put some moisture into
in
the air.
That's all you're trying to do.
But even more important, we kind of went into HRV and back, but a lot of people don't realize that air movement is so important to have not stagnant air, not create mold in rooms, humidity and moisture in corners. Those are really important things too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Air movement's still important.
We want to hear it
Yeah.
from you guys, man. We're not the HVAC specialists.
Oh, that's why I was going back to a hybrid of both systems is the way to go, with radiant in the floor, but then also putting in a small duct system so we can still humidify, we can still do ventilation, you can still air condition. A lot of people want to go radiant, but then how are you going to cool your house in the summertime? And nobody wants to see ductlesses on the wall unless you have to.
That's what I did.
Right.
And I don't find it an eyesore at all. I barely even know it's there. We put it in a great location.
Most people do, though.
And honestly,
Most
we
people
haven't.
do, man.
I
Seriously.
don't have that problem.
I
I
don't-
can't even hear it. My
No,
neighbors
it's
can't
like
hear
when
it.
you look at it, most people do.
They are really quiet.
I
They
know
are
they're
super quiet.
Yeah.
I know, but it's a little mini fridge on the wall. You know what I mean? It's just
You
like
can't hear it.
No,
I'm
but
in the back.
it's on the wall. It's in the way.
I know, but they're so nice looking these days.
But then again, I said on the back end.
Nice looking. We need more clients like Carlito.
Yeah, you've got the compressor on the outside. That's the back end of it.
yeah, but it's easy to service still. You just
I know, but it looks like an eyesore outside, don't you think?
no, you could put it in a perfect location. I don't even see it. Half the time I'm out there, I never see it unless my wife says, "Oh, a squirrel," and then I'm like, "Squirrel."
I think
they're
Carlito
usually-
needs to go to the optometrist, man.
usually
If he's
on the
not
wall.
seeing either unit on the inside or outside. So the hybrid, but okay, how do you sell? Are more clients wanting to do the hybrid? Or as soon as they look at the numbers, they're like, no.
Well, we're fortunate that a lot of the clients we're working with and builders, these clients are building their dream home. So they're willing to spend a little bit more on the HVAC to have that comfort because they want in-floor heating in their bathrooms, they want it in their kitchen, they want it in their tiled areas. But they also want to have the house air conditioned. They don't want to see the ductless on the walls. So it brings us back to we build a hybrid system of both. It is a little bit more money, but we're delivering comfort at every day of the year and delivering what they want.
So what does that consist of when you say hybrid? In-floor radiant heat, and then you still have duct lines,
And then we still have a duct system in place too.
but that's not hooked up to the HRV.
Yes, that would be hooked up
That
to the,
would be.
yeah. So we
Okay.
would still dump our fresh air into the duct system.
Because you got to run fresh air all year long.
If the client wants to. Not everybody does, but
I thought
it's-
code-wise you have to.
it needs to be hooked up and operational, but
Yes.
it doesn't mean you
Oh,
have
you don't have to have it
You
on.
don't actually have to turn it on. That's telling someone you have to have your house at 72 degrees.
That's true.
Yeah, you could have
No,
a 68.
You can put it
Manny.
wherever you want. You want to turn it on.
No. It's
We
like,
just have to install it.
it's illegal to have a chandelier over a bathtub, but tell me one client who doesn't want to have a chandelier over a bathtub.
I can't tell you how many I've done.
But it's illegal. Illegal.
I didn't even know the designer told me to do it.
Illegal. So are all your guys, Andrew, are they all proficient in soldering? Or you guys have gone away from soldering because you're using all the cool tools from Milwaukee there and you're using the press crimp thing, whatever?
Cool tools.
ProPress.
Cool tools.
Yeah, we definitely moved away from
Soldering?
soldering. We went with ProPress,
ProPress.
and we found that no leaks
Ever?
ever.
Not
No
once.
fires.
Not one. If it's installed properly, it'll never leak.
Yeah.
But I think you guys also told me that if it's not installed properly, you can still press it again, right?
Exactly.
It's worth the money, I guess, eh?
Yep.
Is it
Yeah.
expensive?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I run the numbers.
It
It's
saves time.
expensive, but it saves time.
It's
It
a
saves
piece
lots
of
of time.
It's a peace of mind. There's no more soldering. There's no more flux. There's no more toxic waste on your hands and your eyes on floors.
know, what did you say about
corrosion on copper? How many times have I gone to a
Yeah.
house and the guys have never wiped a copper and it's just corroded and it's
Yeah.
ready to bust? You know, there's no fail. When you get to those systems, they're also the holes are larger in that system, right? The measurement on the inside is wider than traditional.
It's all just copper. Still type L copper.
Okay.
You just crimp it. Either you solder or you press, it's still the same diameter. But the best part about ProPress is if, say, you do a big job and you forget one press and you turn the water on, instead of draining the whole system to solder, you can just press it while it's wet.
Or if you do have a leak, you don't
No.
have to drain the whole house down and do
Exactly.
it again and fill it again. We learned that on one of our first projects, and that's when we made the investment.
So it's worth it.
Yeah, and no more fire blankets, right? Like it's bulletproof and it looks sexy too, right?
Definitely.
Do you guys use different colors or are you guys straight one color?
What do you mean?
On your
What
PEX
colors?
lines and stuff like that? Like
No, man, this is copper, dude.
No, copper.
This is all copper.
this is stuff you used at your place.
This is all
Yeah.
beautiful shit. Yeah,
I know. I
know.
saw that
It's all-
beautiful
it's
wall.
yeah, it's a work of art, man. That's
Yeah.
what it is, right? It's an old school way of doing it, but new school way. That's what it is, really.
Yeah.
The press, right?
It really is a work of art.
It is. It's
Yeah.
totally a work of art, man. That's the way. Why? You've seen guys, I guess other guys would do PEX? No.
to the manifold.
Yeah, we still do PEX
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
manifold.
It's a manifold.
Would they do the manifolds themselves out of PEX? No.
No,
You
I've never seen that yet either.
No.
No. It has.
Manifold out of PEX?
Can
No,
you?
Andrew's shaking his head. No.
Can you?
Andrew, it's a podcast. You got to speak up, man.
I guess you could. It might be a little wonky, but
It wouldn't look the nicest.
yeah.
And then I noticed that when you guys do pipe, you generally bring in what? No, you guys aren't using. What are you guys using these days now for the flexibility? You're not doing hard pipe all through the house. You're
No,
using
no.
hard pipe.
Oh.
You're doing the hard pipe manifolds for the mechanical room, but you're bringing flex lines to those manifolds.
Yeah.
Upinar.
So we use Upinar.
Oh, you're using opener now.
Yep.
You guys tell them what opener is.
Andrew, you tell him.
Pretty much the best PEX system out there. So it's you expand the pipe, and it actually closes by itself and grips onto the fittings.
Beautiful. I love that system, actually. I hate the little clip systems where people are going over it 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Hey, is it safe?
Feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it. Is there a little nub there? Yeah, feel it, feel it. It's good. No.
Yeah.
So
Another
opener
change
is
we
working
made.
really well now.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not time consuming. No, trust me, I like the opener. I think it's great. But you guys got to ream every fitting, right?
You gotta
No.
open the pipe every
You gotta
fitting. And
prep every single pipe, but
Yeah.
once you prep it, it's pretty much foolproof.
And I'm assuming Milwaukee's got all these reaming.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Is it easy repair if you have to go in and fix it? Obviously, it must
Never
be, right?
had to fix one.
Wow.
It's a good system. It's a great system.
come back to us in 20 years and then we'll tell you if we had to fix any.
Well, what's the warranty on it?
25 years.
25 years.
As long as you're certified.
And you guys are all certified? Everybody on the cruisers are all certified?
Yep.
I noticed that on Instagram, you guys were doing a lot of class, like a lot of recertification. There was a couple of posters I saw recently where you guys were getting certified again for certain things.
We try to stay up to date on all our training every year. There's always manufacturer training, whether it's a Bosch tankless or our forced air equipment or our boilers. So there's always updaters and so on. So we try to catch as many of those as possible. Andrew went down to actually Colorado recently on the Viega
Viega,
Press training.
That's where their head office is?
One of them.
Oh,
One
wow.
of their training facilities.
Yeah. So
How was that?
Beautiful.
Really?
Yeah.
Pretty impressive?
Very impressive.
That's a good system too
Any,
as well.
any new tools there?
Yeah.
Of course.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Yeah,
the only
it's-
one or nobody else is going to go down?
Des went down with us.
Okay.
And we got some more training coming up in the next couple of months. Winter's a good time to train when we tend to slow down a little bit. We're between maintenance
Come on, you guys
seasons.
don't slow down.
Well, we're always
You get
steady.
more busy in the winter.
We're always steady, but well, not so much because we're in this custom home market, so it's fairly steady. It doesn't.
So you're
we don't
not
really go-
you're not doing maintenance anymore.
We're kind of out of maintenance season. We'll do that in October, November. Is heavy for maintenance, and same thing with sort of May, June, depending on what the weather is. And so we'll get heavy in our 2 seasons, but other than that, we're fairly steady. But winter's a good time to do the training, and that's when a lot of them go on because most HVAC guys are busy the rest of the year. So
Nice.
manufacturers will put on their training, and we got coming up now. We're doing the Working at Heights
Good for you guys.
recertification.
Right on.
Or for what is it? No, it's not called Working at Heights anymore. It's
Fall arrest?
Fall Arrest.
Fall Arrest.
yeah.
WMIS.
Yeah, and the WMIS updater and so on and so forth.
Why did they change it from working at heights to fall arrest? What they wanted to make it sound scarier?
Yeah, I don't know.
Working at heights
Because-
sounds safe. Fall arrest sounds
Because you're going to be
dangerous.
wearing a harness, and if at least you fall, you've been wearing the harness, so you're not going to really.
You're arrest.
Yeah,
You could take a rest for a couple seconds.
yeah, but it's important. Actually, on one of our job sites, the roofer fell off and landed on the air conditioner and smashed it all
Wow.
up. Yeah, he was okay. I thought he was going to be in some serious trouble, but
The air conditioner
the
saved them.
air conditioner, it was actually a ductless unit, and he smashed
See?
it right down the middle, and I almost thought it went in half, but yeah.
Okay, so
But it's important. It's important out there. all
That's
you
his
kids
biggest
listening.
fan.
Harnesses. You got to be safe if you're going up on a ladder, you're on a roof, any sort of height.
and you just can't wear a harness and not be attached.
Well, exactly. That doesn't.
I see guys with harnesses, but they're never attached.
Yeah.
So I got a couple more questions. People always ask me, when should you change your filter? What kind of filters you should use for your forced air? I've heard some bickering back and forth that the thicker, more dense filters they are too efficient and they shut down the system faster, and it's better to use thinner, more breathable filters? And how often, not in a renovation, but traditionally in a home, how often should you change them?
Depends on the size of filter. You know,
Okay.
if you have your traditional 1-inch little thin filter on your duct system, because I run my fan at home all the time, I change it once a month.
Once a month.
No, because the fan's running all the time.
Can I ask you what your preference is? Is it 3M?
Yeah, 3M makes a good filter. Anything that's sort of, you know, a MERV 8 is the efficiency. Something
You,
that's
you
in the
have a
middle is good.
1-inch filter in your own home. I
Well,
would assume
I
you'd have
got
some
a-
sort of.
I moved into a builder house a couple of years ago.
Oh,
and-
that's why you have.
And you don't want to know the things I found in that place. And it was a builder. I couldn't believe that it.
Don't say the name. Don't say the name.
How did
because-
it? These
don't-
things pass code.
don't
Yeah,
say
that's
the
all
name.
their story. Yeah.
But speaking of filters, don't you guys recommend putting any of the new electronic filters and things like that, or the zappers, or whatever they call? What are they called? Air purification systems.
HEPA's?
Oh,
HEPA's?
HEPA
Yeah,
filters
that's it.
are always good. Electronic air cleaners.
Is it worth
technology's
it,
been
or are
around.
they like they start to get really expensive?
Well,
or-
I don't know
They
anything
definitely
about this. So
do.
if you can explain this a little to me.
It looks like a CPU from the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and they're from the 80s. Not so many people put in
Is that what it
electronic
is?
air cleaners
Really, yeah?
anymore. They emit a lot of ozone. They require a lot of maintenance. A lot of people don't realize electronic
Why?
air cleaners, you actually need to pull out the guts, the pre-filter, the post-filter,
Wow.
the cells, and actually clean them once a month. Otherwise, the efficiency drops on them really fast. So
I didn't know
they're,
that.
They're pretty maintenance heavy.
And they're very fragile too.
Yeah.
In what way?
In ways that if you break one of the wires, the whole thing doesn't work.
This is like every brand's, or
Every
like
brand.
That's how they work.
Yeah.
So why hasn't someone kind of designed a better electronic air filter system?
They're out there. There's better filtration systems out there, but they're expensive. It could be $2,000-$3,000 to put in a better HEPA filter system with UV lights built in.
Why
and
do you
so
need
on.
the UV lights?
UV lights are
Odors?
good if you want. Yeah, odors. Usually they're installed around the coil, or they help any mold sort of build up.
It kills the bacteria
Kills
in
the
the air.
bacteria
The bad
and so on.
bacteria, yeah.
Are they worth it?
I don't think so. I think if you have your system cleaned every year, I don't think you have to worry.
You don't necessarily need.
So
You
is
can
that
get
what
away
you-
with a
so-
1-inch filter.
1-inch filter if it's existing, yeah, change it frequently. If not, like
Once a month.
the new homes that we get involved in, we'll have like 4-inch filters are pretty standard now.
Okay.
The 4-inch thick filters, because code actually says you need to have a MERV 11 filter.
What's that?
Now it's the density and the efficiency of the filter, the amount it basically removes in the
And
system.
that's a 4-inch.
And I think they do make 1-inch filters, MERV 11, but they'd be pretty dense.
Why is
But,
it called the MERV 11?
It's the efficiency of the filter. I
What's-
think they go
what's
upwards
MERV?
to, it goes up to 16 on the
Named
on
after
the
Murphy
MERV.
or something? Well, I don't know what's MERV. What's
So
MERV?
It's basically the amount that it extracts, the dust and pollens and so on, the efficiency that it'll capture in the filter.
Okay.
So MERV 11 is now standard, but 4-inch filters are nice because you only have to change them twice a year.
Oh, really?
Or maybe 3 times a year, 4 times a year, depending on how much you're running the fan. It all comes back to how much you're running the fan and what's in your house. Are you in a cat house with a dozen cats and a lot of dander in the air that's getting sucked through the system?
Dozen
You gotta
cats.
change. You gotta change those filters. If you're in a house that's all hardwood floors, and maybe you're a household of 2, and there's not a lot of dust in the air, you probably don't have to change it as often. It comes down to environment as well.
Does the HRV have a filter?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how often should you change that?
Supposed to wash
Yeah,
it, right?
washable.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I know that one.
Yeah.
Okay, but so how often do you do that?
We come in and do it for you twice a year.
Twice a year. Okay. No, it's good to know because, a lot of people own these things and they don't know how to work them. So, people sell them houses and they just say, here's the keys, bye.
Yeah.
And there's no information left. So this is a great way to talk about things you need, the maintenance, call you guys up to take care of that kind of stuff, right?
Filter changes depend again on the household and the thickness of the filter. Your humidifier should be serviced every fall. It should be done. Your furnace should be looked at every fall to make sure it's clean and working properly, and your CO levels are in check. And same thing with your air conditioner, should be checked every spring.
If your humidifiers, what's that inside part called? The honeycomb thing, whatever it is. What's that called?
The pad,
The pad? Is that what it's called?
or
The pad?
humidifier panel.
What if that's like full of crustaceans of something on it? Is that like, can you CLR or whatever that thing, or no? You got to get a new
No,
one.
you gotta get a new one.
Why you can't CRL? I mean,
Vinegar.
Can I answer this one?
Go ahead.
Because actually on humidifier pads, there's a special coating there designed to hold the water on the pad. A lot of people think it's actually calcium buildup on the pad, and they go and they clean it and they do the CLR thing and they
outta
make
here.
it clean. But there actually is a special coating to keep the water on the pad, so when the air goes through, the pad is nice and moist. you clean it or CLR it or whatever,
You're actually damaging
you're
it.
actually removing that special coating, and now
So-
the water's just going right through. It's just like a water
Okay, so then if
fountain,
you have
and-
that pad, you do not CLR
I've
it.
seen that a dozen
no, change it every
times.
year.
Never.
It's like $10. Just change it
Just
once
change
a season.
it.
Yeah,
That's all you do? You don't need to change the whole unit?
no, you just change the pad and make sure the drain line's clear. And there's actually a little calcium buildup in the little drain.
Because it only uses like a
Drain
quarter-inch
pan.
line or something like that, right?
Yeah, half-inch line, but make sure your drain's working properly and so on. And
I didn't know that.
Well, I think another thing we should talk about is if you have a forced air and you're doing construction, you should be changing the filters like every 3 days to a week, right? Under construction. I mean, you don't want to have it on during construction.
These guys don't like
hate
me-
that.
I know, but
You're damaging the machine.
this is the problem. It's happening. What is the maintenance fix for guys that can't put a new furnace in and is it just changing the filter?
Stay on top of that filter.
Because you're burning it
weekly,
out, right? You're making it
daily.
work too hard.
Oh, if it gets clogged up, then yeah, the furnace your blower is gonna seize up. The unit's gonna go off on high limit because the heat exchanger will overheat because there's no
Board,
airflow.
burn, yeah.
Or in the summertime, the air conditioning will freeze up because the filter's clogged. It'll just change that filter as much as possible. I've seen some guys put little filters on the return airs, so you're actually filtering some
Yeah,
of
I've
the air
seen that.
on
That
the
makes
return
sense.
airs, just like a sponge filter. Get the air at that point, and then get the ducts cleaned when the rental's done.
What brand of furnace do you guys like using these days?
Amana.
Amana? Really? I know Amana from refrigerators. They're making furnaces now?
Well, Amana is part of the Goodman Daikin family. They're all in the same sort of.
Okay.
They're all the same manufacturer. So when we launched, and I went around trying to find a brand, yeah, none of the big guys wanted to touch us. Carrier, Daikin, Lennox, Train. Well,
Why?
Because we were small. We weren't a big company. But it's funny, actually, a few years go by, who's knocking on your door.
Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
I know,
So
I know.
we hooked up with Amana because it's actually the same manufacturer as Daikin, and it's a very good quality product. They're actually the largest manufacturer in the world of HVAC products. It was a no-brainer for us, and we hooked up with a good wholesaler in the West End that gives us terrific support.
Why do you like it,
I don't know if I'm
Andrew?
allowed to plug
You-
them or not, but
Oh, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
No, you
so,
totally do it. But
yeah.
why do you like it? You like it because of the installation?
The installation, everything is ready to go. We never have much hiccups with it. Very straightforward, easy to install from drain to electrical. They thought about everything on the installation side of things.
Where is Amana from?
even the setup now is Bluetooth. So you actually sync your phone to the furnace and you set up
Oh,
all your
man.
dip switches, your
Seriously?
airflows. You can see everything right through your phone now. So
I love it, man.
yeah, really cool
Wow, really? Huh?
new product line they have. now.
Amana.
Yeah. I think still at the end of the day, all manufacturers are pretty close reliability wise. It comes down to the guys installing it, making sure they're setting it up properly, their gas pressure, their CFMs or their static pressure in the system, and being there to follow up service and honor the warranties and be there if something breaks down.
So how long would a furnace last? Should a furnace last? If you guys
That's a great
maintain it,
question, by
if
the
you
way.
guys maintain it, because I'm like, okay, washing machines nowadays are only supposed to last like 7 years. That's what they friggin' have built these machines. But we all know, we're old enough to know that we remember our green colored washing machine and almond
We
colored.
still have an old one
And
in
it
the
still
basement.
runs. It still
Dude,
runs.
You can't kill this
I
thing.
know, but you buy a new one today, it's dead in 7 years. So furnaces nowadays, how long are they supposed to last if you maintain them properly on a yearly basis?
As I say, that's like our green box air conditioner that Keep Right used to make.
Oh,
and Sears and ICG
yes,
that
exactly.
keep on going, and they're like
Exactly.
35 years old now, but they still work and they've
And
never been
the
serviced.
pets have pissed all over it and it's
Yeah,
still
but
working.
they're
It's all
still-
rusting. I know. But furnaces wise, like how long should they last?
15 years?
Yeah, manufacturer says 15,
about
20
15.
years.
15 years.
Yeah,
man, you
but
should be
if-
looking.
But if they say 50, so this is the way I always look at things. If they say 15 years, that means it's pretty well good for 20 because they're guaranteeing 15 because they know it's going to be good for 15 no matter what.
That's right.
You should start paying attention to it around 15, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
No,
I
you
always tell
start paying
people-
attention to it right away. Like you maintain it
Oh,
yeah,
every
of
year.
course.
Right.
Well,
But
that's
yeah.
what we're talking about is maintenance. And I love the plugs, by the way, because you know what? It's really important. Me and Manny want to stay true to the industry, and we're hoping that all you guys put your plugs in for what works for you and for the customer. Throw it in
Plug
there.
away.
Yeah, plug away.
use some of those on my head.
Me too. I got lots in my nose, but none of my head.
Man, oh
So
man.
I'm really interested. Another conversation I have. HVAC guys, they also do water tanks.
Yeah.
You guys also do water on demand. So
Tankless.
Tankless. Yeah.
I am hearing nothing but complaints about tankless from Italy and from outside the country. Parts coming in taking so long to.
You're
come
going
in.
after Italy?
I'm just saying one of the problems. I'm not saying Italy. I'm saying when a system goes down, the parts take so long to come.
Which brand is from Italy?
Starts with a B.
I don't know
Not
which brand
Bora,
you're talking about.
Yeah, I should have.
Naveen, whatever, Naveen?
No, they're Korean.
And then Reem or whatever? Rian?
I can't think of the manufacturer. They
Rihanna?
were really big.
I should have wrote it down.
I know exactly the
I'm
boiler.
having a
you're-
brain fart right now.
I know the one you're talking about.
But
My
You go
point
after the
is,
Italians,
my
man.
point is, it's not just about the Italians. It's about being outside the country. But the big thing for me is, I always tell people, like, so I have customers, and they say to me, I want to get a water, like a hot water demand. You need a water tank anyways, because if that system ever goes down, you need a backup. Even if it's a 30-pound or something small, something small, like just to have on the side, you could turn on so you have hot water until you get fixed. A lot of people are saying,
I'm not a tankless guy.
I'm not a tankless either. I don't like the tankless. I like the water tank.
No,
but
but
you
okay.
guys tell us.
So I like Radiant. So you need the boiler, which is the tankless system,
Yes.
but you still need a tank for your hot water supply. How do you guys feel? Do you guys like the tankless or not the tankless, or how do you guys? Where do you
personal
guys?
opinions here, guys. These are just personal
Personal
opinions.
opinion, like what you're just saying, the best system I think is a boiler with an indirect. So your boiler's, it's heating your in-floor, it's doing your air handler, doing your snow melt, it's also heating a storage tank. It actually produces the same amount of hot water as a tankless would. It is more energy efficient, and you've always got your 50 or 80 gallons stored ready to go, and they're 95% efficient tanks.
So your hot water goes through the tankless system, feeds the tank. You always have a 50 to 80 gallon tank of hot water.
The boiler feeds the water through a coil that's inside the storage tank,
Got it.
and then back to the boiler.
I also heard that with a water, like a tankless unit, that the water lines stay cold and they're never hot enough. The actual water in the lines really cool down on the hot water.
Oh, I think that happens even with your standard tank. Like if you don't turn a tap on and you're gone for the day, the water's going to cool
But there's still-
down.
there's still
that goes
pressure.
back to plumbing and having a recirculating.
No, but there's
system,
still pressure on a water tank, like all the water lines in a house. There's still pressure from that hot water tank, and it's still pushing hot water. There's still resistance of heat. Where with a hot water demand, if you don't use it for 12 hours, now you've got to heat cold water that's ahead of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's why
I'm
you
just,
would have
I'm
a-
just trying to
Yeah.
break down some theories about what I'm hearing from people. Like a lot of people tell me that have water tanks on their wall. Every time they turn them on for 2 or 3 seconds, they really have cold water in their
Yeah.
hot water. When they had water tanks, they never had that problem.
I think that's a little myth. I think what's happening is like a tankless is on demand. So it's only going to turn on when there's a demand for water. What you have to, there's a delay because the heat exchanger needs to warm up and heat that water that's coming in from 45 degrees or 40 Fahrenheit from the street. And we got to bring it up to 120. It takes a few seconds for that to happen, or a tank has already had it stored.
But either situation, you still have colder water in the line from the mechanical room to the fixture.
Yeah.
Correct?
But
yeah,
it's under
exactly.
But with
I
a
don't
water
know.
tank, it's under pressure. And that
No,
there's heat.
but
Well, water
But no-
pressure comes
no.
from the street.
Yeah.
So
No,
Still
but I
under
mean,
pressure.
It's
once
still
it's
under
gone,
pressure.
once it's gone to the hot water tank and it's gone out of that, you say you turn your valve on upstairs
Yeah.
and it's hot water. It's always going to stay hot under pressure, even if you're not using it.
you turn it off, and
Where
you're saying the
on
line stays hot.
demand, that water will cool down because it's not under hot water pressure anymore.
No,
But
no,
it is.
No.
It is still under.
It still is.
So that
It's
was
still under
that was some of the
pressure 'cause-
things I want to I always have people ask me questions, so I write them down, and I'm trying to figure out if it's a myth or
Okay, but hang on a sec. So if you've got a tub that's on the second floor, your mechanical room is in the basement, you turn on the tub to get hot water. Hot water runs through the line to get to the tub. You turn off the hot water now. That water in that line from the tub to the mechanical room stays a certain temperature, but starts to cool down until that tub opens up again for more hot water, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Now, if it's a tankless system and you ask for on demand, demand, it still has to push out
That
the
water
water
that's
that
there.
was sitting there to begin with. You get hot water, it comes up, it fills up the tub, you turn it off again. That water still drops temperature again, and you start the whole process all over
But
again.
it made sense to me that when on the wall, it only pushes hot water through when it needs it.
But what's inside the line
But
already
the water
from
tank,
there?
but the
too?
water tank already is hot, and it's radiating a mass that stays in that water line for a long time.
Not from the fixture to the mechanical room.
Okay, so
it cools down, correct? Is that
Unless the tank, because it's already hot water,
That's
is
what I'm
keeping
hearing.
it warmer in the line where a tankless will technically cool down if it's not being
it's
used.
one of the conversations I'm having, and I'm just kind of trying to pick at it, right?
Maybe. I'm not going to say no, but that's the first time I've heard of that.
We'll get back to this.
yeah, talk to a plumber.
Well, I was about to say, I was waiting for one of you guys to say, talk to a plumber.
No, but you guys
that's where
do
a
it.
recirc line would come in for plumbing purposes. So
Yeah,
now you
exactly.
actually stop the process halfway
I like
through.
that, man.
And you got
and
the
you
water
do that.
circulating.
Right? But,
Right.
okay, so go back. You guys handle all the gas, right?
Yeah.
So you guys like setting up a manifold in the mechanical room because I've been noticing that more and more homeowners are asking for direct lines for gas, barbecue, cooktop,
Dryer, fireplaces,
dryer,
generators,
whatever,
pool
all kinds
heaters,
of, standby
ev-
generators. Holy cow, everything.
garage heaters.
Is there a
fi-
limit on
wet-
gas? There's no limit on gas.
No
right?
limit.
You can bring as much gas you want inside the house.
Yeah, you're willing to pay for it.
That's all it is. Because you're just using it.
Yeah.
But you
Enbridge
guys,
doesn't care. They just give you a bigger meter and start charging you more.
but you have to do the same thing that electricians have to do, where they have to do a load calculation.
Yes.
You guys need to figure out what cooktop, what barbecue, what standby generator, all that. That's math. Now it's math, right?
Great conversation.
So-
because I deal with this all the time where I'm quoting a job in the beginning, like, oh, we're going to put in a range, we're going to put in this. So I size a certain gas line for that appliance, and then all of a sudden the homeowner or the client decides to
Sale
pick their
at Best
appliances
Buy.
a year later when they're at
Yes.
the finishing, and they want some massive thing. And it's like, well, we didn't put a gas line in big enough for that because you didn't tell us that a year ago. And that's hard for a client to decide on what stove they want a year beforehand. But like we need to, so we just said, hell with this. Let's just size for the biggest thing available.
I love it.
And,
And it
then
should
if
be
they
that
decide
way.
to put in
Is that what you
something
guys
big,
do now?
Always, yeah.
then we've got the capacity, and it's it's a few extra bucks up front. But then the homeowner can put in whatever they want because we've got enough gas. To handle
Beautiful.
it.
So
Yeah.
what are people putting in kitchens now? What size BTU cooktops are they putting in? Like six figures now?
Oh
About
yeah.
100,000, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
100,000 Isn't this like a
Oh.
restaurant?
And
Like,
then that brings up the conversation of a big range hood that's
I love
extracting
it.
1,200
Yes.
CFMs. And then they say, why is our fireplace backdrafting? Because you need to make up the air.
this is where it gets into HVAC
And
design.
it brings up make up air conversation, which
Let's
is now
talk about
big.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so the idea is that if you've got a big cooktop and you got a fireplace and you got a range hood and you're using all three, you're going to have a problem in the house.
It's a matter of how many CFMs you're extracting from the home.
Because if you've got a pressurized house,
You're so right.
Yeah.
you got a pressurized house and all of a sudden you're sucking air out through the down or for the hood range or whatever, you're depressurizing the house at that point.
That's correct.
And that's affecting your heating conditioning.
It's affecting the heating, but you're creating a negative pressure. So it really comes into play with.
Is it as simple as saying that you're going to have a hard time opening and closing the door?
Well, yeah, you can open the door and there's a big whoosh of air that comes in and hits
That's
you in
what
the
happens.
face. It's because the house, you're sucking the air out of the house. And you got to make it up when you put in these big range hoods. And a lot of mechanical engineers will design anything over 400 CFMs, or if you put a 600 CFM range hood in, makeup air is required. So whatever you're extracting, we're bringing back in at the same time.
I learned
Which is a whole other mechanical system. we gotta install.
I know I learned something about revolving doors in buildings. You probably know this, right, Tyler?
I think I know where you're going with it.
Yeah, so why and how they were designed and the purpose behind a revolving door, because the buildings were all in a static pressure.
Yeah.
And you can't have somebody just open up a swing door because they physically will not be able to, because of the pressure inside the structure will not allow them to do that. But if you created a turn cycle door that got somebody to come in and then you went in and then went out, you can constantly keep the static pressure of the structure without and exiting at the same time. So that's where revolving doors all came
I
about.
love commercial buildings. They're even more energy efficient than a home because they've got so much heat and with the lights on and so on. You don't even have to heat the buildings anymore.
Here's a question that brings up. Have you guys done geothermal?
No, we haven't touched
Not yet.
geothermal yet.
And why
People-
is that?
Have people asked?
It's a little bit of a different animal. You don't get asked for that a lot in the city because you're not drilling out in a field like you would in the country. Like you're going down 400 or 500 feet. So
That low, huh?
I don't.
Well, it doesn't have to be
enough.
that way. It could float across, right?
It could float across,
Yeah.
but you need a lot of
Space.
a lot of space to do it. So you see it a lot more in the country. I think geothermal about 10 years ago got really popular because the government was giving huge money back, tens and $20,000.
Yeah, it wasn't paying out.
to do it. But nowadays, not so much. But
You guys think it's worth it?
If you have the money, probably.
if you had the money, maybe. The thing with geothermal is it requires a lot more energy to heat and cool the air than your traditional system. So if you had, for example, you needed 3 tons of cooling, in geo you may need 5 tons, which means you need 5 tons of air, which then makes the ductwork bigger, unless you have other ways to
Wow.
cool the air. And same thing on the heating side of it.
So how are you heating the air that's coming in?
Well, it's still through the geothermal. It's basically like a heat pump loop, for
Got it.
example. So you're extracting energy from the earth to heat and cool, or from water. There's water source, geothermal.
which is the best one, right?
Wait, so the water from geothermal is what cools the air, correct?
It cools and it heats it. You're,
And it
you're,
heats
you're
it.
extracting energy through the refrigeration process. You're either heating a coil or cooling a coil, which then your air goes across. But then you still need backup, because it still doesn't produce enough heat to heat a home efficiently. So usually there's some source of backup, whether it's a propane or natural gas if you have
Kind
it.
of defeats the purpose at that point, no?
Well, you always need some source of backup.
I got a couple more questions for you. Just questions that I put together all the time from people talking to me, customers and, potential
voices?
customers. The voices in my head.
It's precious.
Amen.
Amana.
Amana. I
Amana.
know. Okay.
Man,
You know, like the guy you saw in the bar last time? It was a man.
I knew it. When should you put dampers in vents and when shouldn't you? And is it something you should always do?
That's zoning. That's a zoning question.
No, but I always hear people saying, I never get enough heat in this room. There's too much heat in that room. Some of my quick answers to them are dampers. Why aren't dampers in all registers close to the floors?
Well, they should be. It's code.
Should be. Yeah.
Okay, well, because I run into a lot of houses.
Don't
they
you ever
have
put your
them at
hand
all.
inside a ductwork and you find that little disc in there?
I never see it.
Older
What do you
homes,
mean you never see
older
it?
homes may not have them.
Okay.
Then you just get a register that has a damper. That
I've
you
seen
can-
these guys install it, and I keep telling them, don't install that. I hate those things, man.
How about assist blowers? When do you use them and when don't you use them?
Are they worth it?
Well, like inline fans,
Like,
or like
I-
I know, like Canadian Tire sells the register that has a fan built in. That's
No,
supposed to
no,
an
no,
actual
inside the
blower
ductwork.
in the duct line, like a 6-inch
like
blower.
an inline.
Does that make sense? Are they worth it?
I've heard sometimes you need to get heat to a room that's on the other side of
I don't think
the
they
house.
work, man.
I think they do. They're assisting
really?
the heat, right? Or the cold.
Never tried it. Never
We've
one.
installed them for like dryers because when you're over 20 feet, venting a dryer, you need to have a booster fan to help get rid of that. But we've never actually installed them on any actual.
There's a
duct
question
runs.
for you guys. What is exactly the math that's associated with every single elbow that's attached to a run? What changes to the velocity of that air movement?
Oh, going back to duct design days.
Well, I was always taught that you lose, what is it,
10%. Yeah, I heard it too, man.
Is it that you lose?
I don't know.
No,
On
no,
every
is it
elbow.
10%? Hang on a
But-
second. Is it you lose 10% or you end up adding 10 feet with every elbow of your run? Is that correct?
It's about every 5 feet.
So every
Yeah.
elbow
Elbow is about 5
adds
feet.
5 feet to your run.
Yes.
It's equivalent to
Wow. Okay, that's
so when
good
the
to know.
duct design is done, they'll figure, okay, so we got to go 50 feet here. You can never figure out how many elbows on paper that you're actually going to use because
Right.
real life is different than on paper. So then the duct designer will account for a certain amount, and then they usually will go past that. So if it's borderline between a 5-inch or a 6-inch run, they'll always go 6-inch, or they should anyways. That's good design practice, but.
it. Isn't the average nowadays 6 minimum?
Yeah,
6?
usually
Yeah.
5 to 6. I still see some designers use 4-inch if it's a small amount of CFMs, which is just a pain because then you got to bring 4-inch material for one duct run. So we'll just do 5 anyways and just damper down the airflow when we balance.
And I mean,
But-
you guys have a pretty big business here. You guys aren't just doing like rads, in-floor heating, HVAC, air conditioning. You guys are doing exhausts, washroom vents. Like, what are the standard sizes for that now? What are the codes for washroom exhausts?
5, 6.
5'6"?
5, 6 usually. Again, it'll come down to what the designer has put in there for a fan and the amount of CFMs
So
that
wha-
it's extracting, but usually 5 to 6 inch.
So how
Can we tell our listeners exactly how to calculate CFMs in a room? It's the height, the width,
the height, the width, the
height,
length?
the width. What you're trying to?
the volume. The CFM is the
is
cubic feet
per minute.
per minute.
Per minute of airflow. Your velocity, basically,
So
of how much air you're moving through.
volume is in a room, and that's what determines the size of the fan. And
Yeah,
air
like
movement.
110 or a 70.
No. Back it up. You got that wrong.
What's the math?
So
We're trying to tell the HVAC guys how to do
So-
this.
No, we're asking. We're
when
asking.
the design is done, a mechanical engineer will do your heat loss, heat gain, determine how much heat and how much cool it needed for each room. And then at that point, you have to figure out what kind of heating and cooling system you're going to use to heat and cool each room. Let's just talk forced air, for example. So then if there's a 3,000 BTU heat loss, for example, for that room, then you have to calculate the length of the run from the furnace, so on and so forth. That might be a 6-inch run, and that room requires 80 CFMs of airflow to heat that house under extreme conditions. It's always done under the extreme conditions.
I looked at it totally differently because, like, for example, someone will hire me to just do a washroom instead of a complete renovation. And I'll go in a washroom and I'll see that they have this fan and there's mold and there's like orange gunky stuff built up on the ceiling.
That fan?
Yeah. So I have to change it. And usually, I kind of feel out the person, but I usually always go a little bit higher for exhausting out, the humidity or the scent in the air. I never looked at it as I'm taking energy away from other rooms. Like, I never looked at it that way. I always just focused
you
on
are.
that room.
Maybe I misunderstood you. I thought you were talking heating and cooling spaces. You're talking about extracting air from bathrooms.
That's right, from
and
bathrooms.
cubic
I'm talking-
feet per
I'm actually
minute of,
talking about
sizing an
both.
exhaust fan.
I'm talking about both. So sizing an exhaust
Yeah.
fan in a bathroom, depending on the size of the bathroom.
You go based on the size of the bathroom.
So how do you
and-
calculate that for the bathroom? But yeah, you've got a valid point though. That door is closed there and you're still sucking air out of that bathroom. You need to replace that air. So you need to calculate how much air you're losing in that room while you're using it for the purpose of that bathroom. Correct or wrong?
If it doesn't have a duct run, if it doesn't have another
Yeah.
source of heat or
There's a
cooling
source
to
of heat
provide.
in there, but there's never a cold air return in a bathroom. Correct?
No, there's not. But you're still supplying air than you're extracting.
I don't
So
think you'd
be
want
okay,
a cold
but-
air return in a bathroom. that
No.
would be the
No,
only.
no.
So what I've
You
always
don't want to
said.
be pulling those smells
Yeah.
back into your duct
I'm not
system and throwing
suggesting
it around.
that, man. No.
Some evil Portuguese trick from Manny.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just trying to figure out. I thought there was 3 numbers you had to calculate the volume of a room to figure out the air out of a bathroom.
Okay, so you're just talking, extraction from a bathroom. So
Yes, so how do you calculate-
There's a calculation done based on the size of bathroom, and
So
then
my bathroom
also,
is 10 feet wide, 10 feet 10 feet wide, 10 feet long, and 9 feet tall.
You'd probably be like a 100 CFM fan because you're like 100 square feet. So
you just go 100 square
use
feet?
a 1-to-1 ratio.
1-to-1. Nice.
Did you just make that up, Tyler, or is that
Yeah,
true?
a little bit. That's why you got mechanical
And
engineers.
I just wrote that
Because
down
he
like
just
an
wrote
idiot.
it down, man.
It's a pretty basic rule of thumb.
Okay, and then same thing with, I guess, the powder room as well. So
powder
anytime
room.
there's a toilet and funky smells, you need to put an exhaust fan.
Yeah, even when you got a bathroom that has, as they call, a water closet or
It's got like a tiny toilet in it and a
just
tiny
a toilet,
pedestal.
not even a pedestal. Even if you have a toilet room inside your bathroom and it has a door, it needs its own
It
fan.
needs its own fan,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's technically its own room.
And I
Yes.
want to talk about this also. Laundry rooms, they should have always, no matter what.
Exhaust
It's
fan.
not
Exhaust
code, but it should.
Wait a second. It's not code?
I see
It is-
designers
I
all
was
the
told
time.
it was code.
It's code.
Well,
I
then
thought it was code.
I got designers missing it every day because I see it all the time come through my desk, and there's laundry rooms with no exhaust fans. We put them in anyway.
I was told it's code, and I always put them in.
On the drawings that I've seen, they've always asked for it.
Well, for 2 reasons.
I'll send you some copies of stuff I've seen.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah.
There's like
But
permitted drawings?
I don't know if this comes back to what kind of permit you're going through. Are you going through
Oh,
for a renovation or are you going through for like a new build? Because I know there's different codes.
New builds, so it's always going to be there.
Maybe a new build always does. Maybe
But a
it's in
renovation, no.
Maybe in renovation it
the
doesn't. I'd
biggest
have to look that
reason
up.
I know you're supposed to have a vent or an exhaust in a laundry room is if you have bleach or you have chemicals that you're in a laundry basin and you're making those, there should be an exhaust to take those fumes out. So that was like one of the biggest reasons I was always told to always have a ventilation or an exhaust in a laundry room.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
How are we liking all the new digital tools, man? Are we loving all the new digital tools? Or are we a little intimidated by all the digital tools? I love the Ecobee. I think it's a cool looking thing.
Yeah, love
I don't
Ecobee.
like Nest. Me personally, I don't like Nest.
Why do you like Ecobee?
I think it looks cooler and it's attached to Amazon.
I thought you were going to give me something really smart.
Everything is designed, is chosen on design. Why did you choose that Ventura thing, whatever there?
It was a great deal.
No, I bet you like the look
No,
of it.
honestly, I would have, if I had the money like you, I would have bought a 4x4 Mercedes Sprint. Or 4x4
They're
Mercedes.
expensive.
Very.
Yeah.
4x4.
But I have to have 4x4 because I'm always in the bushes and
That van's a
mud
4x4?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, back to Ecobee. You guys like using the Ecobee. What other ones are there? Like Honeywell finally got on the train and they're using one now or something, or no?
Every manufacturer has, their own
Digital
Wi-Fi thermostat, carrier, Lennox, Train.
Oh, they all have them now.
The big retail products out there are Honeywell and Nest and Ecobee that I've seen anyways.
But Ecobees are... Okay, you guys tell me why you guys like Ecobee.
Well, for one, they're easy to set up, user friendly for sure. You can put sensors everywhere, so where you can balance the system.
Do you guys do condos?
No.
Not very
Okay,
often.
so I'll tell you, I just finished a condo a couple months ago, and they made me change it to a digital program. They had an old Honeywell,
The gray-looking thing with the switch on it?
and they wanted a digital one, and they were supposed to be friendly. They were supposed to be universal, adapt. What I didn't know was every building has different amounts of boilers. When we went to go program and set it up, we had to find out how many boilers were in each building. So when it comes to commercial, like I know you guys are talking residential, but commercial high-rise buildings, you got to be really careful because if you don't know how many boilers you have, you can't set these things up, and they're really hard to set up.
Were you doing a condo unit or was it like...
It was a condo unit. So we went to go put this in. I called in another company. They were having such a hard time, and the building wasn't working with us. They wouldn't tell us how many boilers they had.
I don't understand why you would need to know all the boilers.
Because the computer wants to know how many boilers are on board.
But you're only using one boiler for that one unit, no?
Not even. Usually condos are off chillers and
Yeah, this building was on boilers.
Your thermos, okay.
So I just want to pick your
And-
brain on that because it was a problem that
It must
I
have been an
think
older
might come
condo.
up for other like people that are listening. I'm always trying to think about the people that are listening and try to help them out for the future, how to prevent potential problems in the future. So I just wanted to bring that up because I had a problem and we never got to resolve that properly.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still trying to figure that out right now. So we had to go back to the old system, and now I'm trying to figure out which system could work for high-rise buildings.
Can't you put a picture on Ecobee? Like your own picture? Like a portrait or something like that? Can you do
I know
that?
you could with the carrier.
Really?
I don't think you can do that with Ecobee,
No,
but
with
Carlito,
Ecobee.
I'll look
I thought
into
you
that.
could,
Please.
man.
I'll look into that. And
Or
get you
did
an
you tell me
answer.
that,
I don't
Andrew, and I
know that.
believed you? I think Andrew told me that, and I believed him. Like you could do a picture like...
Sneaky like that. I always found Ecobee to be more user friendly. Going back a few years ago, I had clients that were having a hard time with Nest and the auto learning feature.
I hate Nest for that.
And so on.
This was
I
act-
haven't seen any of their new product lines. I haven't tried them, so I don't want to comment where they are today. I know they
I
have
don't
wireless
know.
sensors now, and they integrate with your cameras and everything else. And I'm pretty sure Ecobee's got that coming down the line.
Who makes Ecobee?
Amazon.
It's Amazon. That's what I thought it was.
Amazon.
Damn,
It's
they're
Amazon.
doing good, eh?
Yeah.
These guys are doing
And-
everything, man.
It's 2020, not
They're
1920.
even trying to take Netflix out.
No, they're not.
They got
No.
a really cool thing coming down with their sensors are actually going to be in their light switches. I think they've got them in the
What?
States. I don't know if they've come up here yet.
What
But
do you mean?
instead of doing wireless sensors, you just put your light, your typical light switch on the wall, and that'll do your temperature. So no more putting in wireless sensors all over the place. It'll be integrated into your light switch.
So you start creating like multi-purpose zones. Like you're really making some serious zone systems.
Well, it's one less thing on the wall, right? I think that's what it all comes down to. One less thing.
Wow.
A 3-in-1 tool. I love them, man.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would want that, right?
I guess out of all the trades, what do other trades think of HVAC guys?
No, they hate us, don't they?
Why?
Because we're electricians and plumbers and HVAC.
Oh,
we
you're
do
a little bit of everything.
And all their
I
stuff's in
don't
their
know.
way.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, we always have this big duct work and all these tools in the way and these big trucks that are getting everyone's way.
And
No,
then, the big furnaces come in, the big compressors come in, the big hot water tank.
You guys are so important, though.
The heart.
Honestly, like, I can't wait for my washroom to be done so I could put my drywall up until you guys finish the vents or the exhausts. I can't finish the kitchen until you guys drill a hole and put the exhaust in. Like, it's just, you guys are so important. It's in every room, man.
That's nice. Thanks.
Yeah. No.
I think we're an important part of the build.
Yeah, it's really good relationship to have a good HVAC company and stay good with them because you guys do everything.
You guys doing a lot of snow melt these days?
Damn, I was just about to get to that.
Yeah, we get in. Well, you can field this one. You're the one actually doing all the snow melt, laying the pipe down. So.
I'm having a hard time. Is it really worth it, or is it just
totally
like?
Worth
is it
it
gluttony, man? Is it just luxurious gluttony? Like you're showing off in the neighborhood. Oh, look, I don't have to shovel my driveway,
dude. It's so cool.
It's snowing.
Sidewalks are dry. The driveway's dry.
Ask your buddy Will how he likes his snow
Oh,
melt.
I saw that video.
Yeah,
I saw that video
too.
man.
Yeah.
I know he was showing it off. It was great,
yeah.
right? So
I love them, man.
but
He came to us and like, oh, we got to get the snow melt up and going. You got to help me out. You got to get it going. I'm like, all right, let me send in Andrew. He'll make it work.
So how does it basically work?
Telling my neighbors all summer about my snow melt and it's not up and running yet. And he was crying.
Holy cow!
I love Will though. Great guy.
Did you put a sign up saying this house has a snow melt? Like, man.
No, it is totally cool, man.
Okay, so Andrew, walk us through a snow melt install.
So usually there's a sensor outside on your driveway, and when that sensor detects either snow, water, ice, it'll actually turn your boiler on, and it'll turn the pump on, heat up your driveway. That way, when it snows, it will melt automatically.
But you don't have water in that system.
No, it's glycol.
Glycol, because glycol doesn't freeze up to what temperature?
It depends on what you mix it at.
Okay.
So you can do 60-40, you can do 50-50. We typically try to go 50-50. So for the worst case scenarios.
For the really, really cold.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then that's all it does. And then it heats that up and it runs it and you don't have to shovel.
Exactly.
Do you have to have a separate boiler?
It depends on how your system's designed. You can have your own separate boiler. If your existing boiler is big enough, then you put a heat exchanger in and run glycol through the heat exchanger side. And so it all depends on what you have in your home.
Takes a lot of BTUs to
Yeah.
It
melt
does,
snow.
eh?
It takes a lot of horsepower. So
Are you using a lot of energy? You're using a lot of energy.
I would assume
Using a lot of
so.
energy when you're shoveling,
'Cause
aren't
you're-
you? And it's saving the environment
But
at
that's
least in
Manuel
another way.
energy, man.
No salt.
salt.
Animals can be. You're not slipping. Your mailman can't sue you.
And Will actually made a good point. I watched his video how it's going to save his driveway. It's going to the longevity of it, the stone,
True.
Yeah.
so on and so
True.
forth. So that made some good points I never really thought
Drunk people laying on your
Yeah.
driveway. Oh, it's so warm.
of. Yeah.
But I'd like to know how much energy it's wasting, because it is wasting energy. I'm sorry.
It's
but it
probably
is.
consuming a lot. Cause
Mine is 40 outside, let's say, and it's snowing, and you're running the system. You're consuming how much power? So
well,
you
put
won't-
it this way. It takes about 30 BTUs per square foot to heat a house. Snow melt is 150. So
What? Say
when
that-
it-
say
when
that
it's
one more time.
melting,
That just
when
blew me
it-
away.
Snow melt generally will be 135 to 150 BTUs per square foot to melt snow.
Come here, Carlito.
Where
Hug the tree.
Your typical house, not a Manny-built project, which requires zero heat, but most houses are about 30 BTUs per square foot.
Okay, but
So it's about 5 times the amount of energy.
But we're talking
required.
about electricity directly going to this boiler. No one-
Electricity.
gas.
gas. Okay.
Gas.
Is it gas?
The gas consumption. It's a much bigger boiler.
Are you
plant.
using more energy for snow melt than you would be a pool?
Well, that's a good question. I
Dun,
guess it.
dun,
Yeah.
Dum dum.
I don't know.
Dum.
Typical,
Actually, I guess it depends on how
typical
harsh
pool
the winter.
heaters are 200,000, 250,000 BTUs. That's probably equivalent to your average snow melt. So it'd probably be pretty close. I guess it depends on the winter, the amount of snow. Do you want your pool at 90 degrees or 75?
I don't want a pool. It's
Do
a
you
hole
want
in the
to-
ground, and it's just like.
And it comes down to the snow melt where you keep your idle temperature versus your melting temperature. So
Does Will have a pool too?
I don't think so.
Can I ask another question then?
I don't know. I've been in his backyard.
Do you like to see like a foil back on the ground, or do you just do rebar and the water lines on top? Do you like a puck system? Like what's the most efficient? Like if we're gonna be wasting that kind of energy into that driveway, we want to kind of like reflect it back up to where it needs to be, right? Is there a particular contractor or a system that you like to use, or is it just different for every job?
Most of the time, yeah, we're just coming in doing the install of the
So what are they
hydronic
doing? Are they
lines.
running 4-inch foam?
I've seen some guys do the foam, like the puck system. We've seen foil back insulation done underneath rebar or even wire mesh.
Yeah.
it comes
I've
down
seen
to
all of them.
I just
contract.
wanted to-
But definitely. Otherwise, you're sending heat into the ground. You're
Yeah.
not sending it up. So you definitely want to have some sort of insulation to reflect the heat upwards to melt.
You're building I'm going to ask both you guys the same question. You're building your dream house. You get to choose whatever you want to use. Tell me the product and what you do in your own home.
Andrew, you want to start?
For sure, I do radiant.
Absolutely
The whole house.
radiant, huh?
Absolutely radiant with the air handler, so it can do the humidification, the air conditioning. Oh, you obviously need an HRV. Yes, a mana. Everything will be a mana.
I'm going to be totally looking into this, by the way, now.
Amana?
I agree. I'd probably do the same system, a combination of radiant plus a forced air system. I'd go the same
I
way
would do
if I
the
was building my
same
dream
thing,
home.
man.
Yeah.
Tyler and Andrew have taught me that it makes sense to do a hybrid system, radiant first.
This is on a brand new build. So,
Yes.
So if we did have most of my customers, I'm not at the level of Manny yet. No, but no, he has
Level of
more.
Andrew and Tyler.
No, I know, but he has eccentric customers, and they have larger budgets or are more entertained to doing things the proper way. My customers are more blue collared, and they don't have the affordability to do things, but they take chances on areas like bathrooms, kitchens. Saying that, HVAC is pretty much the easiest, most simple way to go then, right?
Just with your standard forced air, furnace, AC.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the question, Tyler.
Budget
You said that
friendly.
you just recently moved into a builder grade home.
Yes. Well, yeah. a couple
Walk
years
us
ago.
through everything that was wrong in that
Ooh,
house.
I like that.
Oh, all right.
Because I already have a picture of what was wrong in that house, but walk us through that picture.
The first thing I noticed was our spare bedroom. There was nothing coming out of the register.
This bedroom,
So I
was it over the garage or something?
technically, I guess it's over the garage. It's a 3-story town, and
Okay.
this is the 3rd floor. And I'm like, okay, so there's nothing coming out of this register. I do my thing, check the airflow. I throw a camera down there,
And?
I'm okay. I can't see anything here, so something's disconnected. Something's gone along the way. So I contact the builder, and they come in. They end up tearing out all the drywall in the garage to try to find where the duct run was before they tore about the inside of the house. So we
And?
started in the garage and found that the duct run wasn't even connected. They were missing about 15 feet. Tear out all the spray foam in the garage ceiling.
Was it 2 pound?
Went through the whole process, and I was like, "Yeah, so this got passed, eh? Like the city,
So wait,
the city
my
passed this.
God.
So
didn't they?
the garage ceiling was spray foamed with a line that was not connected.
Yes. So they had to tear out all the spray foam, find the line, run about 15 feet of the duct run,
But that's-
reconnected, re-spray foam, re-drywall, and so on. It's like, how does that get missed? That wasn't just a fitting coming apart.
That's
like
15
you missed
feet.
like 15 feet of a duct run.
Okay, so that's number
And-
one. That's number one.
Another thing I found was plumbing. The first time I went in the backyard to open up the backyard tap, and I cranked that open, and I'm like, oh, there's no water coming out. That's funny. It's got to be going somewhere. And I run back in the house. Of course, it's flooding the basement.
No.
So I ran in, shut the valve off in the mechanical room pretty quickly, so to minimize the damage in the drywall, because it's a walkout basement, so the water lines run through a finished ceiling. It turns out one of the shark bite fittings wasn't actually crimped.
Whoa.
So
Shark bite
No, maybe
fittings
not-
are only
maybe not shark-
for emergencies.
maybe not a shark bite. Whatever. What's the fitting? It's a crimp fitting. Maybe it wasn't.
The copper crimps.
Maybe it was a copper crimp. Maybe it was a shark bite.
Oh
But it was.
my
Uh,
I
Manny
wasn't
just
there.
turned red.
I wasn't there.
It wasn't even. I don't think it was. I think it was a plastic fitting. A plastic crimp fitting wasn't actually connected. So when I opened the valve for the first time, the pipe that exploded and.
But hang on a sec. But
It's
when
a-
you do an inspection, you actually supposed to put a pressure line to find out if there's any holes. So
You would
you
think
would have
so.
discovered that one. If you inspected,
If you inspected,
you would have discovered that one.
or
For
if
sure
the
you would.
plumber was, maybe he'd actually open up the water line to make sure it flowed properly. Maybe
What other lovely
again,
things did you find in your home?
Oh, I found something recently with the undermount lighting that's now gone.
What was
it's like
that?
only 2 years later, or 3 years though. Undermount lighting. I thought it was the bulbs, so I went into City Electric, got the undermount bulbs. Wasn't the bulbs, so I changed the ballast. Nope, wasn't the ballast. It has power to each line, but they've done something in there to the electrical that
What was it?
I don't know. I gotta call.
Oh, you
I
still
gotta
haven't
get.
figured that one
I
out?
gotta get Barry back from Ireland to come take
He's
a look.
not coming back.
I love Barry.
He's not
So
coming
send me an
back.
electrician so I can find out this
Not
mystery
coming back.
because
There's other
I can't
Irish.
figure this one out.
There's plenty of
Yeah.
Irish electricians here.
He laughed,
Any
eh?
other HVAC problems?
Poor installation I found in the mechanical room. Small mechanical room, but they put the HRV right in front of the door when you walk in, so you had to actually go underneath it.
No.
So I actually had Andrew relocate it. He ended up coming over and relocating the HRV and hanging
Right in
it.
front of the door?
Oh, it was right in front of the door. You had to actually duck and go underneath it instead of just putting it on an exterior wall where it was made more sense.
Why are they also on corrugated lines? Like, why aren't they on rigid lines? And why are they always hanging from chains?
No, there's a reason. There's a reason for that.
To you, Andrew, give us the reason.
You can't do hard on HRV, right? Hard pipe.
Because why? It's going to sweat?
Well, your intake and exhaust from outside has to be insulated because you're
insulated,
bringing in fresh air that could be cold or hot, and you're extracting air.
So
But
why
then
is it a
going from the
flexible line?
Going from the HRV to your duct system, it could be either or.
Anything, yeah.
No, but you guys always made it flexible insulated.
They're always flat. It's
always,
it's like an octopus. Every time I
I
look
know,
at it,
I
they're
know.
like octopuses and they're the weirdest places.
I know.
And I always wonder, why aren't these rigid lines?
So why can't we make them rigid lines, or you guys don't want to?
You could.
You-
It helps with sound too.
Oh,
Flex is better for sound, and HRVs don't move a lot of air, right? Your standard HRV is like 100 CFM.
that's it.
So it's not moving a ton of air. You don't need smooth, rigid pipe to make sure you're getting your good CFMs to a bedroom that's 40 feet away, 50 feet away. Usually you're just ducted right into the duct system, right? It's
Usually
usually
do.
like 5 feet, and you're
Okay.
just dumping in some fresh air.
All right.
And a lot of the times they end up in a tricky place where flex line is easier to install and keep it neat and tidy.
And they're always on chains to take away the shake? Is that what it is?
Yeah, for the vibration, yeah.
Or you can put on a bracket. Sometimes we put them on wall brackets.
I would
But you
rather see them on a wall.
You got to be able to open the front of it.
Yeah, like we put on wall brackets, we put isolation pads underneath.
Have you ever seen anyone with a hard, rigid line on them yet?
I haven't.
I have.
Were they noisy?
No.
No.
That's my fix then. I'll always, when I get one, when I finally do get my other house built, I'm going to definitely get that HRV with the rigid lines for sure.
What expectations do you guys have from GCs when you guys show up on a job site? What should be ready for you guys?
Espresso station, charging table for batteries,
That's never gonna happen. What the hell are you talking about?
Cadillac, a porta potties. What
That's
else
never
do-
gonna happen.
What else
man.
do we need?
It's never gonna happen. I meant more like the industry in general. Like what kinds of? I guess it's just the framing should all be ready to go, right? Because the thing is, you guys are gonna come in with your plan and already start chopping away, right?
Yeah, that's the worst when you show up to a site. You're told the framing is ready, and that comes back to me, and sometimes I don't get there in time, but making sure the site is ready to go.
And it's never ready.
Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, but you try to trust the GC that they know what they're talking about. They're like, hey, we're ready for you to come in 2 weeks, and we try to plan our schedule that way, and you show up, and half the
I will
framing
never
is...
call anyone in until they're ready. I don't want to ruin my relationship with any of my trades.
I don't mind you calling me beforehand because we run a pretty packed schedule. So we need some notice. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you're going to need us on site in 2
Like
weeks.
how many
Give me a-
days, how many weeks? Like what is an ideal?
I like to get at least 2 weeks notice.
Wow.
So I can plan the schedule.
That's tight.
At least 2 weeks. A lot of the time, but so I try to keep in contact with all the GCs, and I'm always constantly popping by the job sites, seeing what stage it's at, keeping tabs on things. Okay, so you're looking like you're 3 weeks away, so then I can plan our schedule, know where I'm sending our crews, and
Because now you
so
got
on.
3 crews to juggle.
Well, we got to juggle, and we got a lot of jobs to juggle. So,
Wow.
and we try to do our best to keep everybody's projects moving. I think that's what's made us successful to now is not delaying your project because we're somewhere else and we can't get there.
Yeah.
and
Well,
slow you down by 2 weeks.
I think everyone always believes that their job is the only one running. Even homeowners don't realize that everybody has to stay in business and there's more than one job going at one time. How realistic or ideal, and I don't know if you guys answered this earlier, would you put a return in every single room? Like I really
for
believe,
sure, but
I
if
believe
if you
it.
can, yeah.
And
Yeah.
every room should have a return except for the bathroom, Manny.
Yeah. Don't put a return area.
Or the laundry room. The laundry room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. If you can get a return air
So-
in every room, that'll
so-
give you a much better
So why aren't
comfort.
we doing this as builders? Like I'm noticing when I go into builder homes, there's only like, a 4-stack opening in the hallway, and then there's none in any bedrooms. Why is that?
All right, let me ask you, how many builders build to minimum code and who go past it?
Who wants bulkheads?
You know what? I don't mind bulkheads
minimum
because
code.
I
You like bulkheads?
rephrase this. So I do a lot of condominium work, and I've run into bulkheads. And my fix to bulkhead problems has changed because sometimes people want to cover them up or hide them. I accent them by turning them into coffered ceilings, or
we've done that.
I'll do
We do
something.
that.
I'll do something interesting with it. I'm not afraid of bulkheads. I think that it could really add to the look. I like to make them a little tighter to the ceiling.
I'm just saying, if there's another alternative to a bulkhead, then we should entertain it.
Well, I mean, walls are going to 2x6 now, and plus,
Make it 2x6.
I mean, your lines are typically 5 or 6 inch lines for rigid
2x6
lines, right?
walls are much nicer than the 2x4s that we're usually given, and we're supposed to run a 6-inch pipe through.
You mean you're squishing?
Squishing a tiny bit. The drywall
We run it through and say strap it out bigger.
Another thing I wanted to talk about too. I see
one
this,
last thing.
No, there's a couple more.
No, one last thing.
So one of the big problems I always see, and I want to talk about, is every time I go into a bathroom to gut a bathroom, no one ever has an insulated sock with a vapor barrier over their rigid lines. I get up there and it's just a corrugated line, or it's just a rigid line going to the outside in less than 4 feet, and then they wonder why they get condensation, sweating, heat loss. Is it mandatory to do that?
First 5 feet is code.
First 5 feet is code. Okay.
You can go further.
I want to clarify that.
Just better.
Like for me, it's mandatory. Like,
absolutely, yeah.
I do it no matter what. I just want to find out. So
I spray foam it, the whole line, right to the roof line.
Yeah, I'm a little afraid of that because I've seen how spray foam, when it's on metal, how it can crack off.
No, you're doing the whole thing.
If I would rather put a sock on it and then spray foam it, because then the less chance of breaking. Plus, then you could change the line if you had to, like say you got mice or something in there, and you could at least change it up in the future.
You're
right?
really going over the top with a sock plus spray foam. End up with R30 on your
build
bathroom
out the
exhaust.
attic there and add a fireplace while you're at
so
it.
Yeah, Carlo built a hell of a place.
Before Manny gets me out of here, for both of you guys, if you could change one thing in the industry, what would you change?
Just one. Just one. Well, two things, because there's two guys. You can't use the same one.
Is it a code? Is it a product? Something you'd add?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Should furnaces and boilers be put on something instead of the concrete
This is
floor?
not your question, Manny. Wait a second. I'm gonna go with the dun dun dun.
I don't know, Andrew. You're in the field. What do you see? I can handle it.
What would you change if you could change something?
If I could change something, I'd say bigger mechanical rooms.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
big
the
one.
first
That's
that
a
comes to
great
my mind.
answer.
Brilliant.
100%
Yes.
agree.
No one gives you
100%.
any
And that's what I'm
space.
going to do from now on for you.
100%. I agree with you on that one.
Brilliant.
They always make it the smallest room
Yeah,
in
why is that?
the
Most
weirdest
amount of
corner, underneath stairs, like
The most
weirdest
important
spot.
room,
Yes.
and they make it the smallest.
Yes, I completely agree
That
with
was
you.
brilliant, man.
Your turn,
Yeah,
Tyler.
no, that's and I can even sort of continue on with that. Is bring us HVAC guys in on the design stage.
Yes.
Right from the very beginning. Don't go to your mechanical engineer, because although they're great and they're very good at what they do with their numbers and putting things on paper, they don't generally have a lot of hands-on experience. So when they're designing how much equipment has to go into this mechanical room, they
don't
give
know.
us a closet, but they don't really know
No.
how much space it takes. And we run into this problem all the time.
Now, is that more the architect or the?
yeah, I guess that could be the
that's
architect giving the mechanical engineer such
I think
a-
it's both, because the mechanical engineer is going to start speccing out all the I-beams or LVLs that are going to get in your way to park something. They're going to almost force you where you've got a house that's so big and you don't know exactly where you can park the mechanical area, and then all of a sudden you have to go underneath certain things, which is going to be a problematic later on when you have to renovate your basement.
Guys, I really wanted to ask some more questions about green ways of heating and cooling houses.
What kind
but
of green
I
ways?
think I'm going to have to bring you guys back and continue this conversation.
What kind of green ways?
Well, there's a lot of like
solar and
Solar doesn't really work.
No, they have these canopies that over the summer you can grow. I don't believe in growing plants on sides of houses on bricks and so on, but I do believe that you can grow ivy or plants over top of canopies that are basically clear during the winter so that the light can come inside and heat, and during the summer.
Who's Portuguese now?
No, but what I'm saying is
What are you putting, a grapevine?
You're cooling.
What's
During
going
the summer, you're cooling your house. Like, are there green ways that you guys know?
A green roof. Have you guys done that? Like, well, no, a green roof cools your house. If you make a flat roof and make it a green roof,
Wasn't your Rondale project a green roof?
No, it wasn't.
No, but
I think you're
something,
entertaining
something
the
they
issue.
would do. Like,
No,
that's a whole other
that's something
conversation.
else,
Is there
yeah.
something that you can do to your home that can make it greener and healthier, fresher, like more energy efficient? Is there anything that you guys know of that it's a product out there?
HRVs are becoming much more energy efficient. Not really. That comes back to the building envelope and how much
Just asking.
heat you're letting in, how much cooling, and so on
Yeah,
and so forth.
yeah.
That comes back to the building envelope, which makes your homes that much airtight, which then goes back to our HRV conversation. But yeah,
I think that's all the questions,
I'll
man.
have to think about that one, Carlito. I'll get back to you.
That's all the questions, Carlito. You got any more questions?
I do,
What else
but
you
I
got?
could I
No,
could tell
you
by
gotta
the,
wrap it up, man.
By the way, Manny just got a pair of new glasses just recently, and he
looking
tried to
good.
look over at me like, you look so funny. I love it.
Because I got to see you now. Look, where the fuck is Carlito now?
Hey, are you gonna drive your motorcycle with those?
No. Oh, wait. I have to, I think. Maybe. I'm
It's
not
contact
sure.
time, buddy.
Fuck that, man. All right. I think that's it. That's all the questions. That's more than enough HVAC questions for you guys. We
yeah,
covered
I think
a lot.
So. I don't know
All
what
right.
else there is to cover.
Send all your hate mail to Carlito. We want to do a quick shout out to Mark at Skylux for letting us use his little area here. This is our
Skylux,
home from one
man.
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we love it. And we want to thank you very much, Tyler, for coming by and doing this podcast. Thank you very much, Andrew, for being a part of the podcast. I know this was a little bit of a scheduling nightmare to get you guys out here, but thank you so much. Lots of valuable information. We'll put it together and then we'll post it, and you guys will probably get more work and get a fifth van.
Oh, hang on a second. Hang on a second.
Oh.
Two things. Just
What's
two
that?
fast
Just two.
things.
What's that?
First, I love the Snicker shirt.
I
I
know,
have the
eh?
exact
Sweater.
same one.
Got the
I have
same
the
one.
exact same one.
I don't
man.
even have
Nice.
that.
I love that sweater, by the way. And two, what is your guys' handle?
It's on Instagram. It's Stott _HVAC _systems.
That's correct. Yeah.
See, even I know that.
Is there a company phone number? Because there's the guys old school like myself. I like business cards and I like phones. So I like to create a relationship. I don't always go online.
It's my number.
Your number, if you want to give it up.
416-526-0666.
And
Wow.
then that's a lot of sixes.
That's a lot of sixes.
And then what's the URL?
It's stotthvacsystems.ca.
Instagram?
Yeah. Instagram we already did.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Where was I? I must have been cooling.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Really appreciate it. Carlito, get us out of here.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. Thanks so much. A lot of stuff about HVAC. Everything to do with heating, venting, AC, air conditioning, boilers.
416 baby 2020. Yeah.